Experience an isometric narrative-driven stealth game and join Hannah's adventure in the vibrant city of Eriksholm. The mysterious disappearance of her brother, Herman, ignites a chain of catastrophic events that will forever change the lives and the fate of the entire city. Welcome to episode 63 of the 5 T's of Stealth, where we will be discussing Eriksholm, the Stolen Dream. Once again, the 5 T's include tasks, terrain, tools, threats, and tension. These are what I consider to be the fundamentals of stealth gaming. This game explains itself as narrative driven, and many of the trailers really drove home that point. I had heard this game referred to as the isometric Plague Tale, which really interested me as well. If you are unfamiliar, A Plague Tale Innocence and A Plague Tale Requiem are like a third person, somewhat stealthy, narrative driven experience as well. I have played A Plague Tale Innocence and I really enjoyed it, but I have not gotten around to Requiem yet. I love a good story, and if it's compelling enough, it can carry an entire game. All of this is to say, I had some pretty big expectations for the story heading into this game. To be more specific, I thought it was going to be decent stealth with a bangin' story. This was simply not the case. I wanted a banger of a story, which I did not get. This title has 8 total chapters. The first 4 are basically all about tracking down Herman, the brother of the main character Hannah. During this time, we also learn a bit about heartpox, a disease that is spreading around Eriksholm that even Hannah battled at the start of the game, and we meet Alva, who was basically looking out for Henry and Hannah and somewhat of a former employer. So again, you spend half the game looking for Herman to find out why the cops are chasing him. Then you spend a little bit of time tracking down what he stole, and then you end the game with, oh boy, there's a corrupt politician doing bad things, we better stop him. I am obviously oversimplifying this story, but I won't pretend that it did much for me or that I have a strong desire to go over it in more detail. I'm not sure what the general consensus is for the story of this game, but it is overwhelmingly positive on Steam, so I imagine I'm in the minority. I will say, however, that I love the presentation of the story and that the cutscenes are extremely well done. In terms of the mission structure, again, you are basically just looking for Herman for starters, which means dodging cops and moving from one area to another. After that, you then spend a mission searching for the item that Herman had stolen. Other objectives involve freeing other playable characters from captivity, solving crane puzzles, and even attempting to assassinate the corrupt politician in maybe one of the dumbest ways I've ever seen. I was honestly very annoyed with this scene, so let me break it down a bit more. Hannah is being sneaky and slowly tracking the corrupt mayor at a funeral service or something like that, then finds a good spot to wait and bide her time. However, once the mayor is on the path to her location, another important character pops up and begins to talk with him. This character then ruins Hannah's plans, with the mayor now escorting him out. So, in Hannah's genius, she decides to jump down from her hiding place in the middle of several guards and just immediately get captured. It was very dumb, and honestly, it's not the only moment in the game where I rolled my eyes and said, what the hell? Let me give you another example that pertains to the gameplay. The final chapter gets pretty crazy, and more or less sets the characters in the middle of a war zone, with some enemies manning turrets within an armored car. Yes, an armored car shooting some heavy firepower. There's one encounter later in this mission with probably around 8 enemies plus the armored car. Well, once you take down the enemy in the armored car, the driver panics and drives off, and the rest of the soldiers just fall back. These are guys with guns against 3 people with little to no weaponry. In fact, if those soldiers had not conveniently pulled back, I would have been stuck with no route to progress. So it feels like the developers forced them to run away so the game can continue. I just really don't like the forced convenience in favor of the group. I mean, these soldiers will shoot and kill you quickly if they lock on, but suddenly one gunner is taken down and everyone runs for the hills. Just dumb. Another thing I had heard about this game before playing it is that it is more of a puzzle stealth game. I can 100% confirm that fact now that I have beaten the game. This is not a game where you walk into a room and decide how you want to deal with it. This is a game where you walk into a room and you have to follow the game's clues to complete it. I like this, but I know that not everyone does, so keep that in mind. This is a puzzle stealth game. At first I wasn't crazy about it, but as you start to control more characters, the teamwork and cooperation make the encounters feel a hell of a lot better, with more complexity and more variables at play. Eriksholm feels very linear, falling in line with its puzzle stealth mentality. There aren't 100 ways to solve every encounter, there is one correct answer. There are several mechanics at play in order to help you complete these encounters. This includes hatches or vents, ladders, elevators, pipes, doors you can open and close, windows you can look through, fences or short ledges you can climb over, wheels or valves that operate machinery or lights, birds that make a lot of noise when approached, and more. There are also loud floors which alert guards when stepped on, so make sure you pay attention to your footing. There are a few different playable characters in this game, and not all of them can perform the same actions. Keep that in mind. In terms of the locations, you'll be doing a lot of running through city streets or rooftops, as well as traveling through mines, through mansions, and more. I want to point out one interesting mechanic at play in the mines or the old tunnels. Not every path was safe in this location, so you needed to decipher symbols in the area which would guide you to the correct path. This was pretty simple, but still pretty engaging. In this same area, you have to follow the symbols to learn which direction a lever should be facing to operate Steamy Martha, a giant machine abandoned in the old tunnels. I mentioned it briefly earlier, but there are several occasions where you will have to operate a crane to lift heavy equipment, which creates a barrier, or move batteries to power some other machinery. Another thing I want to mention relates to the collectibles available in the game. I cannot tell you how many times I would be somewhat exploring an area and take a path just to find a little interactable collectible, then have to turn around. It killed my vibe so badly that by the end of the game, I didn't even bother wondering what different path I could take since I knew it was a scam. I will skip these several fake paths. Thanks. General movement feels good with access to a sprint and the ability to rotate the camera freely. I started this game with keyboard and mouse, but found that I preferred controller. You do not control the crouch in this game. When in a restricted area or stealth encounter, characters will crouch automatically and stay crouched for the entire time they're within that location. There are 3 main characters that you will control in this game, each with different movement abilities and options, but all 3 of them can move bodies. Basically, for each character, you've got one unique traversal mechanic and one, let's say, ability. Let's start with Hannah. Hannah's 2 main mechanics are crawling through vents and using her blowpipe. Vents provide more movement opportunities, while the blowpipe can be used to fire sleep darts, knocking out those who are hit. Hannah has unlimited ammo with the blowpipe, but there is a short cooldown after each use. Enemies do not immediately fall asleep when hit, but will turn around and look in the direction they are hit from. These enemies have a few seconds before they pass out, so you have to be careful or it's game over. This means that you cannot use the blowpipe on enemies that are looking in your direction, as they will immediately see you and again, game over. Alva is our next character. Alva's traversal technique involves climbing on pipes or gutters or ledges. I can't say for certain. She also has a slingshot and can launch rocks to break lights or throw rocks to distract guards. Lastly, and only available towards the end of the game, is Sebastian. Sebastian's traversal technique is swimming. Yes, he can swim. That's it. His ability is simply being able to walk up behind a guard and choke them out. Many encounters will require you to send these characters in different directions using these different traversal techniques. And oftentimes, one character will get stuck waiting for another to get into position and assist them. Progress is all about cooperation. That somewhat leads me to one annoyance present in the game. From what I could tell, there isn't any mechanic at play that allows you to move all your characters at once. Or in other words, have the characters you aren't controlling follow the character you are controlling. Perhaps I missed this, but it is rather stale having to move several characters on the exact same path, especially when there are no enemies around. In this game, getting spotted immediately means you fail. There is no running away to escape, it is simply game over. I personally do not have a problem with that, but I know that some people do. You will also lose if a body is found. Basic enemies come in all sorts of reskins, such as cops, smugglers, or city guards. Enemies don't have vision cones, but when they can see you, a dotted line will appear, connecting you to the enemy, and it will fill up as they get closer to detecting you. Detection is pretty fast, but enemies feel pretty dumb. For example, you will turn on a machine in a certain area, such as activating a conveyor belt. The area will get very loud and the cops will investigate, then go, huh, that's weird, why'd this turn on? Well, I guess it's nothing. Just little things like that, which are pretty annoying. There are also several instances of guards getting scared and running away, similar to the armored car example I used earlier. Enemies typically just have like a baton or something similar, but some enemies also have guns. Realistically, it does not matter since getting spotted is an instant loss. Some guards will have flashlights and some areas will have searchlights, so beware. Lastly, we need to discuss sentries. A sentry is the heavy enemy type present in this game. They seem to act the same as all other enemies in the game, but the big difference is how you take them down. To take down a sentry, you must hit them with Hannah's blow dart, and then have Sebastian choke them out. One or the other is not good enough, you need the combo. Eriksholm, The Stolen Dream can be difficult at times, but I'm not so sure I'd say tense. With its puzzle-like structure, most of the time you just need to take a step back and analyze your surroundings to find your answers. There's no stress about trying some unique path and failing in the process, or testing some unorthodox plans for fun. This is simply analyze the area and move the correct character to the correct position. Again, that's not to say it's brain dead, because it most certainly is not, but it's not edge of your seat tension. It can be difficult, but usually the only reason an encounter is difficult is because you are ignoring or missing a clue. So with all that said, realistically, this game is just not that hard. Difficulty aside, when everything clicks with your characters all working together, the game hits pretty hard. I want to specifically point out all of Chapter 6 because this is when the game really felt great to me, with every encounter feeling pretty damn impactful. If I'm not mistaken, this is when Sebastian is first introduced as a playable character, and when sentries are first introduced as well. I would love to say the rest of the game starting at Chapter 6 felt at this great level, but for me it was pretty much contained to Chapter 6. I do enjoy every chapter, but 6 is a clear standout. I would love to say the same about 8, as it's basically in the middle of a war zone, and I love sneaking through a battle, but there were just too many moments that felt a bit too convenient. Armed soldiers running away from one girl with a blowpipe, a woman with a slingshot, and an unarmed man will never feel good. This is another one of those games that suffers from your characters telling you hints unprompted. Maybe I can use the moving cargo. I can't get past this guard unless I put him to sleep first. Your characters will constantly say things like that, and it gets old and can make the game feel very hand-holdy. I've gotta say, the more I write this review, the more I realize I just don't feel passionately about this game. I liked it, there's no denying that, but I can tell just by the amount that I've struggled to remember while writing that this game probably won't stick with me for the long term. This game is very much one that falls in that category of, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to sit around thinking about it. There's one last thing to mention, and that is technical issues. I really only had one problem throughout my playthrough. At one point, the guards just all turned invisible. They could still spot me, and funnily enough, I could still choke them out, but they were completely invisible. Luckily, restarting my game fixed this issue, but I did have some fun experimenting with this bug, so honestly, it's more of a win for me. Eriksholm, The Stolen Dream is a narrative-driven puzzle stealth game with a narrative that leaves no impact, and stealth encounters with only one correct answer, really limiting your creativity. While I definitely enjoyed my time with this game, I don't see it as one that I will look back on frequently or maybe ever. And when it comes to puzzle stealth, I'm still going to recommend Time Lie and Dark Crypt long before it.